Yay Media Group.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Cornelius, back with another episode of This Is Life. And today, I'm sitting down with my boy Chris Brossett. He has been a guest on the show before, but today we're going to talk about being hopeful in the midst of keeping it real. Because you know, this is Talk About It Tuesday, and we're going to talk about it. I wanted him to talk about, you know, just that. Well, we'll get to that. But nevertheless, Chris, welcome, brother.
What's up,
So you brought this whole thing about being hopeful, and you know, I want to go a different direction. But you was talking about hope, and you mentioned something you told your wife. You want to share that with the people?
Gotta be hopeful. You want to talk about the crappiness of people, though.
I think that I want to talk about the reality of what's there. I don't mind there being hope, but you know, I think there's some. We can give them hope, but at the same time, the reality of what exists and what we experience. Well, let me ask you this question: Why did the conversation come up with your wife to say we need to be hopeful, and why in the context of people?
I think because people are tough.
What do you mean? Because there's so many different things I would love to say instead of tough.
But we're tough too, though. Like, we're tough to deal with too. Like, right?
Ooh,
Like, we're
who's tough to deal
complicated.
with? I'm not complicated.
You're definitely complicated, bro. You know what I mean? You are definitely complicated.
I'm not complicated. I'm the easy. I am so easygoing, laid back.
That doesn't mean you're not complicated.
I am not complicated. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah.
He said, yeah.
People are complicated, right? Like, we're complicated. We're complicated people, and I think in the midst of the complication,
You had to speak up, bro.
in the midst of the complication,
Yeah.
it could be, at times we can not be hopeful, right? At times we can, you know, be fatalistic. You know, we can be hopeless. You know, you could
More of a cynic.
cynical, right? We could become cynical, and man, that's just exhausting, though. It's exhausting carrying the weight
Of what?
of just being cynical all the time. And
Really?
being complicated. It's exhausting.
Wow.
I think it's exhausting. Like, I'm just like, man, I don't want to be annoyed anymore.
I don't want to be annoyed anymore. But what okay, so what is it about people that annoys you? Give me those areas of difficulty that you I feel like you're alluding to.
That people aren't consistent,
Okay.
right? People aren't consistent. People aren't trustworthy.
Okay.
People aren't compassionate.
Okay.
People aren't fair.
Okay.
I would say people aren't good friends. They're not long suffering. You know, they don't. So
Why are you looking at me while you
You
say
know.
this? I know we're in the midst of a conversation, but some of these adjectives you're using.
you feeling some type of way?
No, I'm not. I was when you said we're good friends. I was like, hold up. But I mean, I keep going.
Yeah,
You
but
feel-
so
good
at times,
friends,
so what
compassionate,
can
fair.
happen is you can that could get exhausting at times. You could get tired of that, you know. And I think especially I would say if you desire that for people, you know,
Right.
and if you strive for that in your own life, you know.
Mhm.
So if you strive for those things, I think you can you could find yourself disappointed in people.
Let me ask
So,
you this:
Yeah.
How do you feel like you have real friendships?
I feel like I have some real friendships.
Right.
I think as I would say as I'm moving farther down the path of life,
Yeah.
you know, I would say that circle's getting smaller. Or how I define that's changing, you know what I mean? I would say but I do have some real friends in my life, you know.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the definition of that's changed for me. You know what I mean?
What was it and what does it become now?
I think you know, I think when I think of the people that I consider my real friends, they're the people who see me for who I am. They see all my brokenness. They see all they celebrate the things about me that, you know, they love, and they are patient with the things that they don't love.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I would say it's I was talking to the homie the other day, and he was talking about like in his relationships, when people are in brokenness, like he's just constantly giving advice. And I'm like, man, sometimes you just need to just be with people. You know what I mean? Like, they don't need to hear it. Like, sometimes there isn't, you know, some cliche answer that you could give or some. And I would say the friends that I have are those who are there with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're and we could fight, we could argue, we could go through stuff, and they stay.
Right.
Friends are stayers. You know what I mean?
Friends are stayers.
I think friends are stayers, and they're not ones. And I would say, like, they're not. They're like, they're gonna call you on your BS. You know, like, they're gonna call you on your nonsense, but they're gonna be there with you. You know, right. And I think there's a safety in that, and an ability to be vulnerable, and I'm blessed to have a handful of those people.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not a handful, but a few in my,
like 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
I just listened to this talk, and she was saying, the lady was saying that she was talking about friendships, and she was talking about how, you know, we go through adolescence, we have these friends because we go to the same class together, we're in the same grade, we're really with each other 7-8 hours of the day. We go to lunch, we have the same teachers. Then we go to college, and then you get a whole new set of friends, kind of, and you because now you can bond over your college sorority or fraternity, you can bond over the team, you can bond over your classes, so you build that, and then you become an adult. Yeah. And it becomes extremely difficult to either maintain those friendships or to create new friendships, because now, you know, one of you got married, the other one didn't. And then that brings a whole new complexity to the relationship. Or now both of you are now married, and it's like, well, now we're bringing 2 new people into this thing, and I don't know if I like your husband, and I don't know if my husband likes you, and then one of you have kids and the other person. So it's like trying to, at different times, trying to find how these complexities all match up to us being friends and us having this friendship. So it becomes extremely difficult. And then even going further, the reason why I asked you about your friends is my guy, who I would consider to be a therapist of sorts. He and I oftentimes have conversations about how difficult it is for men to develop strong friendships and then to maintain them.
Man, I don't know. I feel like it's worse for women, bro. I'm gonna be honest. I got daughters. Man, women are catty, bro. They like compete with each other. Like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah,
I don't know. Like, the homies I got are the homies, bro. Like, I feel like those are my dudes. Like, when I talk to my wife and I talk to my daughters about like friends, like, I'm like, do you guys even like each other? Like, I'm like, man, like, you know, like, you go to the gym and man, like, I never go to the gym and like, man, that dude's lifting this much. Like, I'm trying to be like, bro, it's like, oh,
it's just all love.
Bro. It's all love, bro. It's all like championing each other. Like, it's like, man, you celebrate each other. Like, I don't know, bro. Like,
and I could see. I guess it's how it's defined. I guess this is how we choose to define it. But I actually agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah.
Maybe it's the definition of friendship.
And that's what I'm saying. Maybe how we define it. Because it's the same way. Like, when my wife, I ask her all the time, I'm like, well, you know, why don't you call up your friends? And she's like, I don't have friends. Or she's like, well, I have friends, but her friends are like people from college. Yeah. That she probably only talks to, like, once every 3 months. Yeah. And then I just be like, well, why don't you bake?
I'm a firm believer of day 2s, day 3s, and day 4s. You know what I mean? Like, I'm down for some day 1s. Like, I got some people that rock with me.
Day 2s, day 3s, day 4s.
Yeah. What like, man, that? People who show up later in life. Like, you meet, there's people out there, that you.
There's good people you ain't met yet.
Yeah,
look,
bro.
I hadn't met you yet.
Bro, there's 100%.
And then somehow I don't even remember how I met you.
That's a longer story.
How did I meet you?
Through some other friends or acquaintances.
I was about to say, I don't have any friends who know you.
Yeah. Why you don't? Well, do you even have friends?
I was gonna say I don't even friends that know you, but I know that you know where we're both from.
Yeah.
I won't say that, but on the theological side of the street,
yeah,
you would exist in a completely different
circle.
different concentration camp. Whereas I would exist in what could be commonly referred to as a circus. So between the circus and the concentration camp, I think it just kind of happened.
Talking to that, one of the things that you asked earlier, like this idea of hopefulness. One of the things, coming out of the concentration camp over the last, few years that I felt like that developed. I think why I came to a spot where I was like, man, like prioritizing hope is I think I got to a point where I became super fatalistic, right, and just kind of like, or nihilistic, or like cynical, and all those words. You get to a point where you just like what's the point? What's the point of like investing your life? Church planning and pastoring for so many years, investing your life, and then things just fall apart. Investing your life, and then people who you're praying with in your living room are writing emails and dragging your name through the mud in the streets, and you're like, what the heck, bro? Like I thought, like how do I look at my kids and be like, hey, Dad, are we still friends? Like, what do you mean, are we still friends with them? Like, are we still friends? Like, yeah, I don't like what you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, well, remember they said we were family, and then like, like what? And you're just like, what the heck? Like, it's hard, so you develop those like fatalistic, idea, you just get to a point where you're just done, and I think one of the things.
Where are you at with that?
Yeah, like I think one of the things I've been ruminating, I wrestled with God. I felt like I spent the last few years just like boxing with dude, like, hey bro, like I'm kind of hot at you right now. Like I'm this stuff is hard, And then I think one of the things that I think I've been ruminating on, and just kind of like looking at the biblical story of like what God is doing, and there's this theme that kind of runs through, that God is one day going to make all things new. And I think then I'm like, so what's the point? Like, I think in American Christianity, we're so big on like up and to the right. Like, how do we just grow and accomplish and conquer and take over, and everything's about what we can do and how big we can grow something and how much we can take. And like, you just get to a point where you're like, man, like you start watching your heroes get picked off. You know what I mean? Like how many, man, you see Ravi Zacharias, bro. Like you're like, that's crazy.
It's so funny because like even well, not funny, but even all that stuff for Ravi, even when people were just dragging my name through the mud,
bro, it's hard, bro.
I'll never forget going through that. And while I was going through that, it was somebody, their wife or girlfriend, whatever, fiance, whatever it was like, it told him like, you should walk away from being at his church, from being at my church and stuff like that. And it's like, she was like, well, I'm glad that, that there are people like Ravi who are clean and who don't have anything going on in their life. And then it's like he died, and then that came out, bro. And it was just
that
like,
stuff makes you're just like, man, I don't know. And you wrestle, And I know there's a lot of people who wrestle, And I mean, one of the things that God showed me in that is like I remember reading through the Old Testament, man, and like I'm like, God, but like if you discipline your people like this and you expose them, then like everybody's gonna look at you. And I felt like the impression that I felt like God gave me was like, I don't care what people think about me, bro. Like, but at the
end of the day, bro, what are we doing with Ravi or anybody else? What are we doing? I feel like we're discovering this person's humanity.
Yeah, we're discovering the humanity, but I'm saying like what I see God doing is saying like, the people I love, I'm gonna discipline, and what's in the dark is always gonna come in the light, and you don't gotta worry about those things. And I think there's a few things related to that, right? Like you take a situation like that, like there's what about loving those people? You know what I mean? Like, what about working through the baggage and the drama of why did we make these people our heroes? You know what I mean? Like, why are we looking for heroes anyways? You know what I mean? And so in that, it's like, man, how do we love and walk through and be with those people? And then also like, You know, so you have that side of it, but then I think there's a side of it that gets, you know, like what my wrestle was like, man, what's the point of, like, what do I even, like, how do I even participate of anything? I don't even know what the heck I don't know what anything can turn into and what goes to what. And like, you just start getting like, really like, life starts feeling pointless, you know? And I felt like God gave me this picture of hope. And then he told me the reason you participate is for stewardship. Like, it's stewarding your life. Like, don't worry about the results, man. Like, you worry about you. You know, there's a coach told my son, he's a hooper. And one of his coaches told him this. He's like, man, don't worry about who's better than you and about who's worse than you. You just need to worry about you. Just work. And you'll get, and I was like, man, that's big, you know? And I think some of that is like, you know, like that's kind of like the perspective I've adopted in some senses. Like, I can't, I haven't walked away from Jesus because I met him, bro. Like, I met God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I really did. I met him, and I've seen him do remarkable work in my life. And so in that, then it's like, God, how can I steward my life and be, you know, and like be hopeful in the sense of like, man, it's all gonna make sense one day. Like,
yeah.
And if it doesn't, like, whatever. Like, I know you're good. So,
So have you arrived at that point? Because I could agree with you. I am on that same journey you're on, where now I am in the skepticism, where it's almost like, okay, so what? I am asking a lot of questions,
which I think are fair questions. Like,
what's going on?
You should be able to ask those questions.
Absolutely. But okay, and I love you brought that up. You should be able to, but I have come to find out that most people in the church are not okay with you asking questions.
No, they're scared. I think people are afraid. I think one of the things too is we've defined, man, we can go in so many different directions with that. I mean, even some of the
We're talking about hope. I told you, you want to talk about hope. No, I want to talk about the crap. I want to talk about the crap. I'm ready.
Yeah. I think it's, you can go so many directions, I think, in how, I would say even culturally, we've been influenced by more of a secularist view of, or a secularist view of even how to approach God, you know? So we take like you take like modernism and it takes a lot of, like, we take the scientific method and apply it to our faith. Like, we have to start with nothing and prove it as true, but that's just not Christian, bro. Like, Christianity starts with faith. It starts with encounter. Like, so one of the things, man, I was in a cell, you know, like, dealing with deep depression and brokenness, and I cried out to Jesus. Like, a literal cell. I was incarcerated, crying out to Jesus.
You was in jail?
You know, I'm incarcerated, bro. Yeah, bro, I got shot, gangbanging, bro, and then I ended up incarcerated when I met Jesus, bro. I was in a cell crying out to Jesus, and he met me there.
For real?
We talked about that, bro. It's because you don't listen. You know what I mean? See, that's why you don't have any friends.
That's why you don't have any friends. Wow.
No, but truthfully, I cried out to Jesus, bro, and like he changed my life. And so in that, like, I think what happens is people are afraid to ask questions because they're afraid, like, well, what if this doesn't make sense? And it's like, well, you're starting with this, like, I have to prove it. Like, you haven't. Truthfully, I remember I was sitting with somebody recently, bro. Like, honestly, bro, I was sitting with this therapist. Right. And he was like, you know, I just live my life. Like, I want to meet God. And, but if I did my best and he's not real, then at least I tried my best. I'm like, you don't know Jesus, bro. Like, you ain't met him. I'm like, man, I don't even know if I can rest. I don't even know how to deal with this anymore. Like you've not met him. Like, I've met him. Mm-hmm. And I think when you start with encounter, and it's cool if someone hasn't met Jesus, right? Like, we could, like, I want to introduce you to him, but I think people are afraid to ask questions because they believe the concept of God. They haven't actually met God. And I think if you met God, like, I'm afraid of no questions. I remember going through seminary, like, I guess I'm going to, you know, I went on some journeys in seminary, bro. Like, because I went to seminary after 10 years of ministry. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, but I'm like, whatever. Like, if my mind changes or, like, I learn something different, like, it's scary, you know, but.
Most of the people I know who went through seminary came out agnostic.
I didn't come out agnostic. I came out just, you know.
I didn't know you back then. So.
Yeah.
And most people I know are black. But.
I got a gang of black homies who went to seminary, bro.
Trust me. I know.
Well, you know what it was. You know what it is? It's the circus. You know what I mean?
It's the circus. Oh my God, it's the circus. The non-denominational Pentecostal circus. That's what it is.
I don't know, bro. I know some non-denominational Pentecostals who love Jesus.
I'm not saying we don't love Jesus. I love Jesus. And I love that you mentioned that. It is the encounter. And that's been the one thing. I preached at this church a couple weeks ago. And that was the one thing that I kept saying to them, because the pastor is on this, he's on this series of evangelism. Mm. And I was telling him, like, even if you don't know all of the semantics of this and that, and you don't know the proper way of what this scripture is, the most powerful sermon you could ever preach is the one of your personal life.
100%, yeah.
And like, it is my encounter that pierces the hearts of people. Peter's sermon was impactful because it came from a very experiential place. Like, I've experienced this. I know it to be true. This is not hypotheses. I'm not guessing. I'm not wondering. Like, I know I experienced it for myself. And so,
and they wrestled though. Like, man, like, you look at Peter, bro. Like, he's like, bro, you ain't, like, he's talking to Jesus. Like, nah, homie, you ain't about to do that.
Right.
You know, like, he obviously doesn't have his theology right. You know, in those moments, he's like, he doesn't know who he's dealing with, bro. Like, he's still like, nah, bro, what you mean you about to leave, bro? Like, you're tripping. You know, you read Habakkuk, bro. Like, he's arguing with God. Like, bro is like going at it. Like, I mean, you don't think Job was like having a mental breakdown when all his families just get stressed out? Like, I mean, I think people read the text. A lot of people don't even read the text, but like some of the stories, like we apply these stories as if there's some kind of like remedy, rather than just sitting with these peers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm reading the text to sit with my peers.
Right.
Like, and so like, it's not just necessarily a remedy. It's like, no, this is the story of how these people have encountered God.
Right.
And like, when you watch how they've encountered God, like, you're not just looking at their brokenness and their conclusions at the end or their highlights. Like they were really in those moments.
Right. Like,
there's moments. So like, I don't know why we think we can't be in those moments. And I think I think a lot of pastors are afraid to share when they're, you know, and so I think people don't know how to be in those moments. You know, one of the things I've always talked about is like, man, what you see is what you get, man. And you, like if I'm broken, like, integrity is being exactly on the outside as you are on the inside, right? And so if you see me like wrestling, I'm wrestling.
Integrity is being exactly what you are on the outside that you are on the inside.
On being exactly on the outside what you are on the inside. So it's taking your if I'm mad at God right now, like, I'm gonna tell you I'm mad at God. Like if I'm wrestling, you're gonna know I'm wrestling. If I'm struggling, you're gonna know I'm struggling. Not in a, you know, like I tell my son, like, homie, you can't come at me like that, dog. Like, you're not gonna come at me like that. You know? I think there's an element of like respect and honor, like, that I'm like, I wanna maintain in that process. Huh?
He wants to fight you?
Nah, but he thinks I work for him or something. You know what I mean? Like, bro be coming at me sideways, dog. Like, I mean, it's teenagers. You know what I mean? But there's times I have to be like, hey, like, nah, bro, like, you can't come at me like that. Right. You know? And so I think there's an element of like, I do want to approach God with an element of like you're still my father. You know, like, I'm not gonna come at you like that. But like I want my son to come and, like, you know, there's times my son tells me stuff and I'm listening to him and I'm like, damn, I want to hear that from you. You know, like, I want this to be a safe place where you could tell me that, like, where you're pissed at me, or where, like, man, like, you think these things, like, whatever, even if, like, or you interpret this way, you know what, you know, and I'm a sinful human who's imperfect, right? Like, and so I think I want to, if I'm like, wrestle with God and wrestle with ideas and wrestle with what I'm like faith is not about getting it, like, it's not about getting it right. It's about knowing God. It's like, it's really about a relationship with the King of the universe. And I think in that sense, like, you gotta wrestle, bro. Like, if you don't wrestle, like, do you even have faith? Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, bro. Like, if I want to get to know my wife, I'm asking more questions. I'm constantly seeking more insight into, if, you know, like, I think it's okay to be that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, one of the clear-cut definitions of a cult is the inability to ask questions.
100%.
And so that's why nowadays, you know, I begin to question. I can't tell you the number of like messages I get from pastors and people who are genuinely upset because I bring people on and I ask questions, and I'm asking them the one question I have been asking a lot of, and I ask you the same question. Somebody who you pastored before, you've done traditional ministry, you've done street ministry, you've done prison ministry, right now you're currently still in the thicket of it. So the one question I've been asking everybody is church a safe place?
See, I don't know. Heck no. But who said it? That's one of the biggest problems is we tell everybody it's a safe place. From the gate, like you jump and you're like, all your marketing is like, we're going to, we're your new fam. Like, bro, homie, you're gathering a bunch of broken people together, bro. Like, what you expect?
Can I answer the question?
Yeah.
About the expectation? And I want to say I completely agree with you in the marketing of it, because we have taken humanity out of it. When I talk about the expectation is if the message that we're bringing to people is one of this God who's supposed to be loving, graceful, and merciful,
yes,
forgiving, patient, kind, and then this is the embodiment of His people.
But he's gracious, kind, and loving to those people. So like, he's not saying those people are that. He calls them to that. I think one of the greatest. We could expect that from people, but
absolutely.
But I think one of the dopest things we see about the hypocrisy in the church is that God, like the Holy Spirit, brings that stuff out.
Absolutely, He does.
You know what I mean?
It's not in the people though. I'm not referring to. I'm not saying that the people have to be this way. But I go back to the point you make in the messaging that we have. That we market this as if this is supposed to be a safe place and not calling it what it is. It's really just a halfway house.
Bro, I tell my kids all the time, bro. I'm like, yo, the church ain't safe, bro. I tell people all the time. I've been like this last season too. I remember sitting in
he just had
I remember sitting in this life group at this church, right? And we had just showed up and we were chilling, cause I'm a Christian, so I participate, and I'm in this life group. And they're like, what's your expectation? Like, what do you guys have expectations? And like, everybody's going around like, oh, I expect this to be, to meet some friends, have a family, whatever. And they get to us, and me and Jenny, like, we ain't really got no expectations for y'all. And they're like, I was like, we don't. Let me just break that down. Like, I don't expect nothing from you. Like the church, I literally said, like, the church isn't safe. And you need to be okay with that. Like, it is okay, because what happens is people, if you don't tell people that, they come into the church and they think like, bro, how many pastors, like, bro, as a pastor, like, bro, I wasn't a trained psychologist. I wasn't a trained therapist, bro. Like, I didn't know about trauma counseling. I had my own trauma, bro. Like, I met Jesus. Like, my dad was on heroin, bro. Like I was telling somebody the other day, like, man, like one of my closest homies got shot by the cops like last year. Like I've buried like 50 friends. Like, that's not normal, bro. Like, so now I'm over here dealing with my dad dying on heroin, my mom drama, bro, my family stuff. And you bring me your marriage, like, fix my marriage. Like, me and my wife are still trying to figure out how to, like, fix our own marriage. You know what I mean? I don't know I'm not a therapist, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't got this figured out. Like I can point you to the King and tell you that He's good and like the things that He's done in my life. But the church isn't like equipped to be all those different things, right? I think one of the most beautiful things I think that the Roman Catholic Church does, right, is they center it around the sacrament of communion, bro. It's like literally this is what it's centered around. It's centered around that He gave His body and His blood for you, bro, as life. And I think there's something beautiful about that. Like it's not centered around this great preacher who can, who can be a great communicator. Like, it's like, okay, good, you're a great communicator. You got good ideas, but that still don't help me sometimes, Yeah, I mean, it's like there's times where those are good ideas. Those are good things I could apply to my life. But truthfully, man, it's like, man, if I could nowadays, I'm like, man, if I could just bring people to the table and they could just taste and see that the Lord is good. Yeah. You know what I mean? If I could take them to the table and it really is like He provides everything you need. His body, His blood, like He gives everything, and you just need to meet with Him. But the problem is we've made it about we're the church that's doing social good. We're the church that's doing, that has great community. We're the church that has the best youth group. We're the church that has this. Come here and find family. And it's like, Yes, all those things do happen. Like I've met some of the greatest people in the world in the church, bro. I've seen some of the greatest things happen through God's people, bro. Like, I am not anti-church, but I'm anti-presenting the church as something it's not. And what it's not is full of perfect people or great people. And it's like, people are like, man, I want God, but not his church. It's like, bro, you can't have me without my bride, bro. You know what I mean? And like, the thing is, the church is a mess. And that's okay. It was intended to be that way. Like, the church is a mess. Like, let's stop pretending it's not. And I think if you can, when you talk about being hopeful, it's like, I want to be hopeful for those people. I want to be hopeful for me. Like, because I want you to be hopeful for me, bro. Like, can I show up and be real? Like, man, I've been drinking too much because I've been depressed. Hey, I can't, me and my wife just were beefing. You know what I mean? Like, who do I get to cut? Like, so if I can't bring my mess to the table, you get what I mean? Or I can't show up and receive, like, from the table, you know, then what the heck is this thing?
Yeah.
You know, but the problem is we present it as like a social club or this.
And you know, and I think it's well, I mean, you and I, we've had that conversation on the side. I am, people all the time ask me, it's like, so you're telling me don't go to church or don't be a part of the church. And that is not my messaging at all. It's never been my messaging. As somebody who was an active participant and still is in edifying his body, there's no way that I could be pro Christ and then anti his bride. I think the point that I continue to try to make is the messaging that we send to people. Bro. Our messaging is off. We talk about hypocrisy, which, I mean, you're going to find that with humans. You're going to find that with messed up people. It is a messed up body. And then my gripe comes in is when we see other people's humanity, we immediately bury them. We throw them away. We look at a guy, we look at a Ravi and we think, okay, well, then we have to dismiss everything he's ever said and throw away everything he's ever done because he's not clean. But please show me one man who is 100% clean. Yeah, you know, like show me one man who's 100% clean, and then like I will take everything back that I've said. But there isn't one. There isn't one. And so, but
and there is I would say there is something for, like, you know, the scriptures do teach, man. Like, if you're a teacher, you're gonna be judged harsher. And
then you be judged harsher.
And I think I don't necessarily know if that's saying God's gonna judge you harsher or people are gonna judge you harsher. Like, when you're presenting yourself out there, definitely judge you get what I mean. But I'm saying, like, when you're in a position of influence, like it. I mean,
but who put you there?
Sometimes we put people there, bro. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
We want heroes. Even
in
the false teachers that it talks about in the text, like, it's the people who promoted these people.
Absolutely.
And so we got to stop promoting. We got to stop looking to people to be our heroes, and start looking to God. And then we got to stop. We got to stop stepping into the role as hero. Right? I think sometimes, there's the people and the leader, right? Like, the leader's got to stop stepping into the role as hero, right? Like,
that's the role I stepped into.
You know, I mean, it's a hard role not to step into, right? Like, it's in some sense, I think you feel responsible and you feel accountable, and then there is an element where we can, in some sense, we can like it too, right? And I think being real with those different things, it's complex, man. Like, but. Yeah, man, like, I think you got to be able to be human. And we have to accept the humanity of people and of leaders and stop presenting it. A lot of it is in the messaging, bro. But I think some of that is just, you know, that's why you need
here you go. He's about to say something. Go on and say it. That's why you need what?
That's why you do need historical and biblical and more of a robust theological framework. You know what I mean? So you're not set off by these things.
He's getting these things from the concentration camp. This was brought to you today by his concentration camp. Listen, if you listen to this, he and I, we have a running joke. We banter back and forth about it. I think we have a mutual respect. I legit respect you. I respect the man you are, and I respect who you are as a husband. I've seen you around your wife. I've seen you around your kids. I respect who you are as a father. I respect who you are even in the church. I even respect who you are knowing where you've come from and still in the striving that you have to assimilate and to be a part of his local body. Because I haven't gotten there yet.
And I'm patient with you.
You invited me to your church a week ago.
bro, constantly, bro.
I looked it up. I did. I clicked on it. I looked it up. I'm not coming, but I did look it up. I looked it up. All I asked, bro, I asked though is that you save me a seat.
100%.
You just save me a seat. I will never sit in it, but I want you to save me a seat. And again, I'm not anti anything. I think I have so many more questions that I need to siphon through, and then I get to that point where I can say, okay, let me go back and sit in.
And you know what, bro? Like, you know, one of the things I remember I had a seminary prof say, and I thought it was the dopest thing that I've ever heard. She said, you know, we got to keep all judgment provisional because we don't know the end of the story. You know, and I think
keep all judgment provisional.
Yeah, because we don't know the end of the story. You know what I mean? You know, you sit and you're like, man, there's a guy right now, my homie Genna, man, like, love that dude, bro. Like, I remember, man, we baptized this dude meets Jesus, bro, and then he just relapses and goes and shoots up heroin and smoke. And like, I got video, like, we were sitting there talking to this dude, and he's on meth and heroin, and it's falling apart. And like, people would say, like, so did his baptism count? Like, was he truly saved? And like, I remember, man, just like, man, what do you expect? Like, just be patient with dude. And bro is like, he's married, got kids.
Amazing.
He's a church planner, bro, owns a business. And like, you would see his story.
Amazing.
And it's just like, yo, we baptized this dude. He met Jesus, and then he fell apart. And now he's like stop judging people's current situation.
Right.
You know? And I think what happens is people look at these situations and like, see, this is what happened. It's like, man, you ask what a friend is. You gotta stick with people, bro. Like, you gotta be able to weather it with people. And I think when you I'm truly interested in people, not where they're at. Mm-hmm. You get what I mean? People, you could be where you're at if I'm your friend, bro. Like, I believe we've developed a friendship. Right. And so I'm your friend. So you could be where you're at for as long as you need to be, dog. Like, I'm gonna be where I'm at. And I'm gonna invite me, and I'm gonna keep inviting you.
Stop inviting you.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep inviting you because I'm where I'm
all over there.
100%.
We're all over there.
You're gonna be there. You gonna be there. Show up.
No, man, I do. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being honest and open and authentic about having this conversation. And I mean, y'all already know. Please, like, subscribe, share this with your family, your friends. But Chris, how do they connect with you? Like, I know he's on Instagram. I don't know anything else. I'm sorry. And you know, I don't know how the concentration camp runs, and I also don't know how the concentration camp.
I broke out of the concentration camp. I left.
You're lying.
I did, bro. I left a long time ago, you know? It's been a minute.
Are you serious?
I still go back in every once in a while.
Why didn't we have this conversation? You broke out of the concentration camp?
You've been out of the concentration camp. You know?
Are you serious?
100%, bro. You gotta leave. You know, sometimes you realize the gate's always open. Just gotta walk right out that.
Well, y'all, we thank you so much for joining us for another episode of This Is Life. I think we'll be having another episode soon. We'll talk about the concentration camp and talk about that, because I also want to have a conversation on the questions I've been asking about the circuit.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Then we have that conversation. But y'all, introduces. We out of this piece. Peace.
Yay Media Group.